の心と物質
I listen to like one album on repeat all the time now. That's how I listen to music now.
Okay.
Like I listened to Chromacopia when we were covering it.
Come.
And then Lexa Gates, the one I mentioned to you and everything, I think it's called Eternal something. And I just listen to it on repeat and repeat and repeat. I don't know why I don't branch out to new music at all, you know? Or even like shuffle or this and that. I'm built different, bro. But of course, I think, you know, speaking of you taking a dab and me catching a glimpse of it beforehand, maybe. I think it has to do a lot with like smoking and stuff like that. Because, you know, like music is so good when you're high, you know, and when you're not. I mean, it's still great, but it's not the same at all, you know?
I mean, yeah, when you're under any type of influence, like your emotions are just like more sporadic than not.
And
so
your attention span, you know?
Yeah, like I'll always say it's like every time that I was like tripping or whatever listening to music, that shit was like mind blowing to me. I was like, whoa, like did you hear that? Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
no, see, that sounds insane. I think that's why when it comes to tripping and stuff like that, it worries me in terms of music because I feel like a sad song is like really a sad song.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
like,
you know what I mean?
But that's why you make like playlists for it and stuff.
Yeah,
like
but what
that.
if you slip and fall and then I'm a creep? You're just like, oh my god.
I remember one time Lucas and I got really high one night and we were just like listening to music and shit.
Yeah.
We weren't even tripping. We were just listening to music and just smoking and drinking and smoking. And
drinking and smoking in the public park. That's such a good. Can you put the video up here so people see? All right, I want people to watch this. It's 40 minutes, but it's worth it. It's so good. It's cinema.
Cinema.
Better than Nosferatu. All right, continue. You know, Lucas.
Yeah, we were just chilling, smoking shit, listening to music, and like this Lucas was a little younger at this point, and so there were still certain songs or bands that he hadn't heard of yet, and I was like, "Yo, have you ever heard of Creep?" And he was like, "No, I don't know that one." I was like, "What?" Nah, we're listening to Creep right
For the
now.
first time?
For the first time.
What a depressing thing to show us about it.
I fucking played that shit.
Yeah.
And I look over him by the end of the song and he's just like laying there. And
That's such a sad song.
Yeah,
bro.
and I look over at him and he's like, why'd you put that song on? That was so sad.
You're such a creep. What's it called? Nah, bro. I don't know. I think again, like I haven't never tried acid and stuff like that, but I would think that this would be crazy to hear when you're on acid. Just on loop.
You'd be like, what?
No way.
Yo, that I remember when I fucking took when we went to state champs and like Jordan was like, yo man, I don't know like if it was the bass or the drums, but like something was really thumping and I could really feel that and like, oh man, that shit was really good. And I just go, yeah man, those musicians were musicianing, dog. Like they were playing those instruments.
It's just some janitor in the closet just like, scuffling the thing. It's like, yo, that's deep.
He's just like hammering a nail on the wall and Jordan's like, you hear that thump, dog?
Goom, 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 goom. Hell yeah, I agree with that. Revolution.
100%.
But you don't think, I don't know. In a dark room, what was the infatuation with tripping in a dark room, closed doors? You know, you ever heard about that? Like, you ever heard that before?
I don't think so.
Where a bunch of people would be like, oh yeah, you know what I want to try? I want to try, you know, locking myself in a dark room and then take like 3 tabs of acid and see how it would feel in the quiet. But that's the thing. People like, I think have regularly thought that. Even I myself will be curious about it because you wonder where your mind will go.
Right.
You know? But that's a thing I've heard before.
Where's my mind?
Yeah. What do you think would happen? I think you'd go crazy, no?
I think
That's
I don't
insane.
think that'd be great for me. Honestly, that'd be enough for me, dog. Because like I even think about how they have those really quiet rooms and shit where it's like
You can hear everything.
You can hear everything, even like your fucking blood pumping.
A fart would be so funny in that room.
Just like. Just you're like
I thought you were gonna make a subtle fart. I don't even. You can see my lips about to make. You fucking exploded. Got diarrhea.
I mean, it's the quietest room, so like that shit is gonna sound like an explosion.
Or a sneeze. A sneeze is already pretty
sneeze
crazy.
Be like,
and everybody goes question, but everything's happening like a nuclear bomb.
Imagine using noise canceling headphones
in there
that room.
I think you'll just cancel the noise. I don't think it would.
No, but if there's no noise in the room
Yeah.
and then you're using noise canceling headphones, like, what do you hear? Like, it's just like,
I know I got a little habit because I'm thinking about it. Like
got
it's a
you,
real
bitch.
question. I'm like, whoa, what would happen? You hear silence? How can you even hear silence?
nah,
Oh my god!
you know, I'll say this is gonna be the like one of the best intro stories because I don't know if we've talked about this on the show before.
With my ginger ale.
The one time when I was tripping off a couple of tabs and fucking we went to bar 43
Wow.
and late into the night after drinking this and that, you started showing me 9/11 videos.
Because
Frankie showed me 9/11 videos.
and I have completely forgotten that he was tripping. You were tripping. I don't know who I'm talking to. Yeah, and I was just like, "Dad, this is crazy, bro." And I just leaned over to my left, I'm like, "Look," you just, and I'm just like, "Wow." Anyway,
And I'm just there losing it. I'm like, oh my God. Oh no. Yo, this is crazy.
that's an insane thing to show somebody. What's worse than that? Beheadings, probably.
Probably fucking being in it.
Yeah, honestly, bro.
Like, what?
That shit must have sucked.
Yo, man.
Oh my god, bro. Speaking of plane crashes, man. Just
Yikes.
37 plane crashes happening. Everything. That shit's crazy. Anyway, all right. So we're on the news section. Welcome back to the show. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I got this idea, right? I have some quickies. Literally. I got like 4 or 5 of them. So every time I mention one, I want you to hit that explosion. All right.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
So you ready? Get your hands ready. All right. We will be going in depth with some news, but I got some real quick ones. All right. First one. Black History Month just started. Nice. Also, tomorrow, big February 3rd, protest everywhere. Don't go to work. I'll be quicker than that.
There's a delay. There's a delay. I can't do anything about it.
Anticipate my ending, bro.
Fuck you.
There's also the beaver saw his shadow. His name is Punks. His name is Pungsu Tony in Philadelphia. Oh no, his name is Phil. Pungsu Tony Phil in PA, where the town is called Pungsu Tony. He saw a shadow more winter.
Yo, this shit's so delayed. This
Fuck
is
it.
crazy.
Should have tested this out before. It's so low. Too. Trump blamed the helicopter crash on the Obama and Biden's diversity push. All 3 pilots were white. You can't bear.
Damn it, you gotta give me like more of a cue or something.
This is so low. All right. Anyway, yeah, that was it. That was a fail, bro.
That was so yo.
You want to try it again? You want to try?
Fuck that. That's it. We're good. You know what? That was passing. That was we got a 65 right there. We
That
passed.
wasn't bad. Anyway, I just finished watching the show Painkiller. Right, I was just talking about it earlier with you, and it talks about the show's about OxyContin. It has the guy who played Ferris Bueller in it, who plays
Wow.
the main Sackler guy. I think is Ralph or some shit like that. Arthur. Anyway. It's a crazy show. I was mentioning earlier how I think on Joe Rogan I heard this is documentary called the OxyContin Trail, or they deemed it the OxyContin Trail, where I might be wrong about the drug, but this is basically an all around overview of how they prescription drugs would just be given out. Pretty sure it was OxyContin. Anyway, you basically would go to one doctor, get a prescription, go down to the next doctor, get a prescription, go down to the next, get
Just
a prescription,
stock up.
and then on a drug that's so similar to heroin.
Yeah.
You know, and so the whole show is so exaggerated and dramatized, you know, but they really use, like in the beginning of each episode, they have the warning saying like, oh, these are based on actual facts, but some names have been changed, this and that. But then it's like a father or mother holding a picture of their kid saying, what's not fake is that my son is actually overdosed at 23 years old. And it's fucking like rough.
Yeah.
But the show in itself is so almost like, I'm trying to think of a movie like Wolf of Wall Street, how exaggerated it is, but it still sticks to that main factual point of what happened in the past.
Right.
Anyway, basically the Sackler family, no repercussions. After doing all that, they killed so many people. I mean, it's incredible the story of how addiction really came to be and how money was legit the base to just murder people and make them profit and become a $billion dollar company. But that's
why we need more people like Louis. No, I'm gonna miss that.
Yeah, man. And you know, so they had a settlement last year, I think, or in the past that the judge was like, nah. And then most recently, which is funny, I don't know if this was trending. I have Trump hands right now, right? What's it called?
Well, you need to like pull your sleeves up more.
Yeah, like so. Like what's it called? What's it called? So I don't know if it's trending on Netflix because of this settlement, but the settlement came out after I saw it trending.
Okay.
Anyway, Purdue Pharma basically has to pay 7.4 billion dollars in their settlement over OxyContin. They have to get rid of the company basically, and that'll cover about $900 million. So their ownership is gone.
Shit.
And the maximum contribution from family members is $500 million or more than the previous deal. And I think what they wanted also is to not be able to be sued again, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Okay.
Basically, they owe a shitload of money, $7.4 billion,
Yeah.
which.
It's a lot of beans.
But also, when I was watching the show, and at the end, they were like, "Oh yeah, you guys are gonna have to pay like $5 billion," and he's like, "Nah, don't worry about it. We'll pay that off like over time through." And it's so who knows how much money they.
Firm.
Yeah, man. Who knows how much money they have in general, but just given I know some of it has. I was gonna look more into the story, but I think it's more interesting if you're aware of it, and if you don't really know about OxyContin, I don't want to really get into detail because it just seems like. I mean, this is just a sad occurrence that kind of we glossed over time because I don't know. It's just crazy, man. Do you know anything about that or the OxyContin thing?
I mean, yeah, honestly, just because of work.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like there are patients that deal with that issues at work sometimes, and it's just like it's not easy. There was one time, like, without to like expose too much or anything, no names or anything like that, but there was like this one patient, and this is more on like the funny
His
side
name's
of things.
Steve.
Yo, fucking Frankie. But, like I didn't want to say any name because someone would have just been like, "That's an actual patient."
Yeah, you gotta be really careful.
So I just it was this lady. She had come in and she was just like, "Oh yeah, like I need to see like my doctor. Like I'm trying to get some Adderall." And she said it like that, just like really like
dumb way to sneakily get Adderall.
Yeah, just like really like jumpy and like perky and whatever. And just I was like, okay, but when's the last?
She gets the Adderall. She goes home. She puts on some music. All you hear is.
She's like, yeah, hell yeah. keep going. That's my tempo. But fucking, she was just like, I was just like, okay, when's the last time you saw your doctor? Doing like the rounds, and she was just like, can you just like help me get my Adderall?
Oh wow! Really?
And I was just like, there are steps to that. I can have you speak to a nurse, my friend. Don't worry. And she just kind of looks away and she goes, I'm not your friend. And I was just
got
like,
you burned.
I was just like, I was already kind of annoyed with her.
That's a mic drop right there. She killed you, bro. She killed you. Well, now you want to come in on fucking time. Now you want to be on cue.
Yo, fuck you. But fucking, I was just like, she did that, and I was just kind of like, I was already kind of annoyed at first. I was just like, okay, that's fine. Yeah. I just continued doing the process. I'm just like, yo, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, and it is a super difficult thing because I see patients come in all the time. They're like, I need to see my doctor now, this and that, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll lie and be like, yeah, I have an appointment. They do not have the appointment.
Yeah. Like, no, bitch, you have an addiction.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I need to get.
It's like, yeah, duh.
Like, oh, okay, come on in.
So it's a super difficult thing, and I like witnessing it firsthand definitely sucks because it's like, we have all our little code words and stuff in the notes, so it's like it's not so blatant which patients deal with it, but it's like
he's a crackhead.
It just says in all caps, crackhead. But it's like it's a difficult thing, and it's hard to like not put a stigma on those things sometimes, where it's like
it's hard not to, right? Because really addiction comes off as like, oh, you're just lazy, you're just a drug addict, you're just irresponsible, blah blah blah, and basically the whole show in its exaggerated way makes that point really well, and it's really stresses the point of addiction doesn't just ruin the one person, it ruins those around them,
right.
And I mean, the fact that they made it so accessible for something so strong for the sake of money, obviously it's not a surprising thing, especially in America, given how we handle everything, so money based. But it's just, yeah. But it's also just, I don't know. I think being in a pill form, coming from your doctor is just crazy. And there's so many other things probably happening in that same way. I know this is not similar at all, but Ozempic, right? Which is not like, it's a weird thing to me, and
motherfuckers coming in all the time. It's like, yeah, I would love some Ozempic trying to lose weight. I'm like, go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. Just And
Yeah.
so many people try and cheat the system of trying to get Ozempic instead of just like
Yeah. And I
doing
think
the work.
I think if you're going in the direction of like liposuction or all that stuff anyway, and if that's a better alternative, if you're in life-threatening weight, you know, like if you're fucking 7,000 pounds,
Yeah.
you know, and if it's a step in the right
Link.
direction, Steve,
Yeah, you heard me.
this was all a. What is it?
A ruse.
A ruse.
Yeah.
Had my back on that one. I'm like those fucking explosions.
You know what are you talking about? That shit was... God damn it.
Daddy, chill.
Fuck.
Soundboard's off today.
It just, I'm gonna need your clock out.
But yeah, I think, you know, I haven't seen anything except like damn, what's the word? Like when you take something and then you get side effects. I guess side effects.
Yeah.
Like negative effects that happen, like, you know, diarrhea or whatever the
Right.
fuck it is. I mean, there's a bunch of weird ones. I don't know where I'm going. But I'm just saying it's weird where our bodies are going in terms of what we're taking in for the sake of not only money, but how we look, how we feel.
Right. Physical appearance and all that. Because
Yeah.
I had this random thought, I think, like during the fall. I don't know if I ever told you this.
Mm-hmm.
I had this random thought where I was like, and this, like, I'm not trying to make like a big statement or anything like that, just saying this, but
Yeah,
it's like,
makes a big statement.
here's my soapbox.
Get the little hands.
It's like, so. But
Mm-hmm.
I think what's interesting to me is this conversation about how people have, like, you know, issues with trans people and being like, you know, how are you going to augment and change your body like that and this and that and whatever. And it's like, especially say religious people who are like, oh, that's like the body that God gave you. And it's like, but what about liposuction and
Yeah.
Botox and BBLs and all this stuff that
Like
you,
not being who you are.
yeah, doing all these things to make your body look a certain way, the body that God gave you. And it's like that at that point, it's like, you know, that's why when it comes to stuff like that of like people wanting Ozempic to lose weight, I'm just like, just do the work, dog. Like, you know, nothing good is ever easy. And it's just like, you need to put in the work.
But I think two things with that, because I think one, I think is like a body dysmorphia aspect, right? And the other one is like a sexual aspect, you know? And then also do the work, but then some people will go to, you know, see someone and say, well, oh, I'm just an emotion eater, and honestly, because of my anxiety disorder, like I'm not able to go to a gym, and you know what I mean? Like there's that happening now too. And I agree with you perfectly, like in the same way. Where go to the gym, because you know I'm not in the best shape of my life, but I also would never personally go to an alternative like liposuction or Ozempic for the sake of just wanting to look better, you know, knowing I didn't earn it, because that just seems so ingenuine, and I think more harmful in terms of how you do things in life, like shortcuts, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just an overall like blanket statement on the whole thing, but I agree. Damn, bro, I'm definitely like high or something.
Here we are making statements. Fucking on our soapboxes.
Yeah, but yeah, the going to the gym and eating healthier, because that's all just choices you make throughout your day. Because even if you work, man, I work 65 hours a week. You know what I mean? Like I know when I make certain choices to eat bad things. And I had a fucking pint of ice cream yesterday. I mean, it was pretty good, but yesterday I was like, fuck it, I didn't even want it, bro. Yeah, exactly. Why am I doing this? I chose to eat that because I've been doing my thing. You know what I mean? So,
but that is a thing for sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, like how you mentioned, there are people who deal with that really bad anxiety about saying going outside and going to the gym and just stuff like that. Like there's an episode of High Maintenance I think is really good where there's a character in the show, this one random person who like had recently lost a bunch of weight, and throughout the entire episode they struggle with the idea of uploading like a progress pic on their Instagram because they're just like no one cares, like, or just like, or like, no, like I'm still ugly or whatever the case is, like that body dysmorphia. So it's like that social perception that people still deal with when it comes like to your public appearance, like it's so insane, and it can be so damaging to people.
Of course. And now it's bigger than ever with social media and cameras being everywhere and this and that. I think one of the saddest things that happens now is that people are afraid to be themselves because there's so much cameras everywhere. You know, I don't think it happens every single time, and I love seeing people who are just themselves regardless of any situation. But it's true. Or people who are only themselves when the camera is on, you know? And I think that in between is becoming rare.
Right.
You know? It's either one or the other.
Like when you're a personality versus not.
Exactly.
Dude, yo, the book I picked up at Midtown Comics.
I like how I was there to point that.
Yeah,
So
that worked out.
convenient.
That worked out. But that, and this is just a sleeve too. But
oh wow.
yeah, But like fucking like that book has been so good. And
maybe you named the book.
Oh my god, am I Luda?
No, what's the name? Luda by who?
Grant Morrison.
Okay, cool.
But fucking like the book has been really good because it's actually about a drag queen. A guy who like does drag, and he has this really great little like section where he kind of talks about drag as like a societal thing, where he kind of mentions that you know, if you think about it and you can't really deny it, everyone's kind of doing drag. Like when you really look at it, when you look at the way society works nowadays, like when people are putting on makeup and things like that and like caking up their faces and whatever just to go out to the supermarket, that's drag. And it's like, it's just that idea of like, we are constantly putting on that persona, that face, the same way that drag artists do that. And I was like, damn.
What do you mean? Like literally putting on makeup, or like say I'm going to the store and I'm just like, okay, this is my store face.
Yeah,
like
like that,
okay.
which is like obviously nothing like groundbreaking. Like it's like
okay,
it's a long like an old conversation for sure.
That's
but
what
like,
it sounds reminiscent of just things that have already.
And it's just in the lens of like drag and stuff. I was like, that's a really like interesting way of looking at it. Of like, we all do drag. Like even like when you go to the store and like you get up in your clothes and shit, and you're just like, you know, I'm just going to the store, but like you know, I still gotta look good.
Yeah,
it's like, for who? Who are you looking good for?
Yeah, and sometimes it's for yourself. You know, you do everything you do for yourself and stuff like that. What's it called? I don't know. I think I don't know.
Just don't know. He's just a high guy. He's just a high guy. Look at this guy being high.
I think it's interesting when you go outside by yourself, and when you're for me, I like I like to be out by myself, you know, but I still find it hard for me to go enjoy a beer by myself. I can enjoy dinner by myself. I can enjoy this and this and this, but having a beer by myself seems so like, I don't know. Like when because been in bars a lot and stuff like that, and then you're just sitting there, and like a lot of people are like, yeah, you can just have a beer and enjoy yourself, watch TV. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm just like watching TV. I just getting drunk, and like I want to socialize. I don't know. We're going on a different.
This was a beehole for sure.
This is a beehole for sure. All right, let's go on to the news. All right. So I got one news section where, I mean, I guess it's a little boring, but I guess it's a little interesting because we're going into a whole new presidency, right? Didn't mean to get political, but this one's a little more political. Woo, woo. That was really good. Well, I'm going to cover the tariffs a little bit, right? Okay. So because it just got announced there's going to be some tariffs on Tuesday and stuff like that, and there's 25% going on Mexico, Canada, and 10% on China. Right. So I was thinking, I don't know what that means really. So let me look into it. And then I wanted to see the responses of the countries that the tariffs are going on.
Right.
Right. So it's pretty brief, but it gives some full detail. All right. So the tariffs are supposed to happen at 12:01 on Tuesday.
Okay.
Right. And then China says it will file a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization and take, quote, necessary countermeasures. Right. And then Trump was able to impose these tariffs by calling the fentanyl coming to America from Canada, U.S., and China a national emergency. So basically saying all the fentanyl coming from those three places is me implementing this because it's a national emergency.
Right.
And this he does under the laws called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act and the National Emergencies Act to back the tariffs. Basically, he found a way to make the fentanyl the base of the problem to say, we're going to charge you guys more money.
Right. Like using that as like the scapegoat of like, this is why we need to charge more.
So groceries, gas, and cars are in jeopardy of rising costs. Justin Trudeau of Canada, he said...
Don't even get me started on those eggs.
Yeah, the eggs thing is a huge thing, right? And Justin Trudeau of Canada said that they're going to respond by imposing a 25% tariff against 155 billion of U.S. goods. This includes beer, wine, lumber, and appliances.
Definitely not going for a beer by myself.
Exactly what I'm saying. 30 billion, 30 billion on Tuesday and 125 billion 21 days later. Mexico still hasn't said how they're gonna, retaliate, and China's basically saying, bro. China said,
man, shut the fuck up.
China, a foreign ministry from China said, fentanyl is an American problem, and they're gonna respond their own certain way. And I'm more worried about China than anything else, because everything's made there. You know what I mean? So if they're gonna impose some tariffs, everything going up. You better bring some extra cash.
Yo, man, that'd be crazy. Like, what like, that is just such a scary thing to think about, getting like blocked off by other countries from like literally resources
or
and
just
like
everything
like,
going up in price, and fentanyl is gonna go up. You know what I mean?
So, I don't know what you mean, but I will say that like at this point, at least like in this conversation, like it makes me think about the comic Undiscovered Country. I think I might have mentioned this to you before.
Maybe
we will definitely talk about it in the show at some point in time. But the premise of it essentially is that it takes place in the future where the U.S. has opened its doors for the first time in over 100 years, where for the last 100 years they've isolated themselves from the rest of the world. And so it's like people are finally getting an inside look of what's happened in America over the last 100 years. And they essentially do this big project in America where they very cleverly name it the 13 like fucking what do they
colonies
call it? Colonies. There we go. 13 colony project. I forgot the word.
I thought it was
colony.
something different to play off the word colony.
No, they had like the 13 colony project where they split up the entire U.S. into 13 zones, 13 different things that like uphold American values, like individualism, technology, things like that. Okay. And it's just the main crew are essentially like traveling through all these areas in the U.S. and trying to find a cure for a virus that is killing the rest of the world.
Ooh.
All this comic was written before the pandemic,
of course. Yeah.
And the fact that this happened, like with the pandemic and everything, it's just like it's such a scary thing to think about how like, you know, walls have been put up and walls will be continue to be put up under this, and it's just kind of crazy.
It's crazy how this is gonna, because the first thing I forgot to include in the beginning is that Canada and the U.S. are our allies. You know what I mean? In terms of the country. And again, I won't get too in depth with like, oh, what will this mean for our country in the future in terms of
what into our nation?
Yeah. Basically, all I mean is that like I think this relates to everybody because in terms of our wallets and being that we're not the 1%, like
UK.
it's gonna, yes. Nah. But it's gonna make things cost more money, you know. And thankfully, I don't drive, but I know a lot of other people do. So I think the MTA that won't go up because that shit's already.
No, it's already going up.
What, to like 310 or some shit like that?
Yeah, like over $3 now.
It's crazy, dog. Fucking goddamn tired of it. But yeah, but the Popeye's chicken lady. Yeah, she must have been fucking exhausted, bro.
I made enough sandwiches today.
I'm fucking tired of you motherfuckers. What the vegetarians? And this is me, like right here.
Can I have a veggie burger?
Man, the veggie burger. All right, let me get fucking. All right, come on. The veggie burger from Shake Shack is fucking disgusting, man. All right, so I think I said this in the last podcast, but I've been vegetarian for 1 month now. In the next 2 months, I will be vegetarian also. Little experiment. Want to see how meat tastes afterwards. Better for my health. All right. That's funny. That's finally. But I had a veggie burger. That was good. But I had a veggie burger from Shake Shack, and man, it was not good whatsoever, man. I've never had something so bad because it wasn't even terrible, but it was supposed to taste like hamburger, I guess, and nah, it's just nah. And I've been staying away from all the Impossible meat. All right, man, I'm just distracted today. Anyway, tariffs, things will go up. You will pay more money.
Especially veggie burgers.
Veggie burgers don't matter because they taste disgusting.
You really won't want to pay for them anymore. That might be enough to make me switch.
Doing drag. What's it called? All right. Next thing I'm talking about is the Neo Gaiman thing because I think it's a little more interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, I know we already spoke about it briefly beforehand, but I guess for the sake of the show.
I forgot,
You know, that's the one thing I can't because I think we do also cover comics, and I think this is a big, huge deal. I didn't really check if there was any developments. Not sure if you've heard any.
There hasn't really been much developments, no.
But yeah, but tariff thing, yeah, kind of boring. Maybe we call it a quick topic, but money. Anyway.
No, I mean, I'll just add to that tariff thing real quick because I do think it is important because it does affect the entire world. Like it's 100%. Not just the U.S. Like, and I think there's a lot of people who are not understanding like what the fallout of this is gonna be like.
Yeah.
Where like even reminiscing of like not reminiscing, that's an awful word to use. Thinking about like how Elon was like saying like, oh, the economy has to crash before it gets better, and it's like, what? Yeah. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I guess he's referring to how like a stock will go down and then
it's like obviously it's like ebbs and flows of things will happen, sure, but it's like it just really and just seeing how much of these companies are having more and more say in this new like presidency. Where,
Oh, this
like,
one is all based on that now.
yeah, and it's like I don't know if you saw how Meta paid Trump like $25 million for that lawsuit.
Oh yeah, some shit like that. Because Trump, what they do,
they like blocked his account or some shit back.
He's
like,
suing them and stuff like that.
He sued him for that, and like they finally just paid him and like just called it a day in the lawsuit. And it's like, just with that in mind, the fact that it's like, you know, Meta's not doing the censoring stuff anymore and things like that.
Yeah,
it's just it's pretty wild. Like, and it's only been like 2 weeks.
I think the censoring thing is walking on eggshells topic, but I think if there was never any to begin with, it would never be as big of a problem. You know, but it's when you censor to a political advantage, then you're just, you know, not doing what this, you know, freedom of speech is called in America and stuff like that. Now you're just private company doing private company things, you know, that benefit you. Like there was this one thing a couple of weeks back when an abortion pill was blocked off from certain viewers and certain accounts were blocked because they were selling a particular abortion pill. And then Meta responded saying that, oh no, we only did that to the ones that were trying to sell without a license, but we accidentally also blocked other ones and this and that. Bullshit. Yeah. Yeah.
But also how like Meta was making people follow like more like right wing, like Republican people and things like that, like automatically even following like the president on Instagram and shit. It's like accounts were just automatically following those accounts.
That's strange as fuck. That one I didn't hear of though.
Yeah, dude. And it's just like, what is like? It's so weird, dude.
Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't mention this. This is probably more interesting than all the topics. I'll say this real quick. NBC News, New York Times, NPR, and Politico are kicked out of the Pentagon offices, and now,
and we're gonna be there. We'll be there.
And now they're allowing for the press, for the pressings. They're gonna allow like social media people, blah blah. But those that I just mentioned are gonna be replaced by the journalists or journalism companies, Breitbart, OANN, HuffPost, and New York Post. Yeah. So they're replacing basically, you know, I guess to some extent and a little biased news companies with just ridiculous headlining people and
just influencers essentially.
The influencers are going to be asking questions now, which I think might do a little good in some ways. It's that because, you know,
I'm cautious about it. Yeah. Like it's like I think even that in an idea of itself, it's like I kind of get what you're going for. Yeah. But then it's like when you're the ones picking and choosing which people you're gonna have come in, it's like, but there's still gonna be bias at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think, and I've said this before on one of the episodes where I've said, instead of having these journalists there, like why don't they have actual like scientists and mathematicians and people asking questions to the president, and he or she should be able to answer that. Or actually because you know what I mean. He should be able to answer that. You know what I mean? Because it would be a actual challenge instead of a journalist either trying to get their headline thing, a blue journalist or a red journalist or a green journalist. Like everybody has their motive rather than really getting shit. And then what was I gonna say? Fuck. Apparently this happened, man. Oh fuck, this should turn on. Apparently this happened, and you can look it up, search it up. On TikTok, there was a trend where people were basically sympathizing with Osama bin Laden and saying that, like, it's a trend. It's like, I swear to God, this is a real trend. If I was, goofed, then whatever, but I looked into it, right? Because it's a whole thing. I found it on Reddit, went down this huge b-hole. And they were like, basically the video goes like, get some music on me, right? Get some music. Or you could do it in the edit. You could do it in the edit. You could do it in the edit. No, man!
That's fucking funny.
I should have, I guess, given you the genre. You could have put anything. You could have put a funky town.
I could have. Right?
Honestly, that's my fault. No, some like melancholy music. You don't gotta put it anyway. I'll put it now. All right. So basically, they say, I finally understand why Osama bin Laden did 9/11. After you read his letter to the United States or whatever it is, I finally understand why he did 9/11. You should read this letter, and then you'll understand why he did it and why it was a good thing. That was true.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
I didn't even want to touch the soundboard for that. That's
I hope
enough.
you guys some like real, copyright free music.
Yeah, that's insane,
That's a
dude.
thing
What
that
the fuck?
happened on TikTok. So I looked into it briefly, but it will definitely look real,
Mm.
and it's so interesting because it's like what the fuck. And then
Yeah.
some guy on Reddit who if I find it, I'll send the video. He like went through the letter. He read all 23 pages,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like basically saying that where Osama bin Laden is from, I forget, is like is a righteous Islamic state,
Mm-hmm.
and basically like they want to bring that upon America to force that religion on us,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that we're not following it, like it's dumb. It's nothing to it. That's like you would think it's like beautiful. And he's like, oh, if you like that, you should also read something that's gonna touch your heart. That's also very passionate. And he points to Mein Kampf. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's a thing that happened on TikTok. I had no idea.
I mean,
You
even
know?
thinking about that, sympathizing with like people like that, like the
Mhm.
more again, like the more and more people just sympathizing with like Elon and whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, did you see about
The Hitler thing.
that and like
He was throwing his heart out to people, dog. I don't know why he was so mad.
you know, you're right. You're right. I just misinterpreted with my eyes. You're right. Let me just.
Yeah, people can be tight, dog. I don't know.
I just.
He's
I don't
just
know.
throwing his heart out to people.
I don't know
God.
if you saw how
I thought love is the answer.
it was an awkward gesture.
He's autistic, dog. He can
Fucking-
do whatever he wants.
There goes Elon again. Hey. Boom. I did the left one, so you can't get at me.
He did the left one.
Fucking, they're gonna flip the image on that.
Next week, welcome back with my new co-host, some
but-
Jewish guy.
I don't know if you saw how he was like, he showed up in virtually at some like conferencing at like a right wing like group thing in Germany.
Germany, yeah, and he started making jokes referring to the Holocaust or Germany or like Hitler or some shit like that.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
it was
It was more so he was just being like, "Yo, it's okay to be German, guys."
no,
Like,
he used World War II rhetoric and stuff like that.
well, yeah, he did, but like,
the house or something like that.
just like definitely like the message overall was like, "Yo, be proud of your German like heritage and things like that." Just really
Yeah.
hyping up. The
That's
crowd.
weird, man.
And like,
that's so weird.
and the way that the room looks, I don't know if you saw like the video or
Nah,
the
I didn't see
images.
that. I just seen his face, I think, on the thingy.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's just like a massive screen. Fucking
It's like George
Elon's
Lopez
face
and
on.
Spy Kids.
Dude, it's like the Apple commercial with
Yeah.
with Big Brother.
No idea what that is.
Oh my god.
I know what Big
dude.
Brother is, and I know what Apple is, but I didn't see the commercial.
I'm gonna throw the commercial up here. It's like a 30-second ad,
Okay.
but it's just straight up like
Yeah.
no, Futurama makes fun of it actually.
I think I seen the episode with when they put the thing in your eye.
yeah, and like
Futurama's so good.
so then you've seen it because it's when they
When they're
make
dancing like that and everything,
No,
and it's
it's
like,
a-
oh, okay.
it's
just
a-
dance.
I got excited, but it's like it's the ad where everyone's like kind of just sucked in, staring at the screen, and it's like in
Big
Futurama,
face.
it's Mother on the TV,
Oh,
and everyone's
yeah,
staring
yeah.
at her, and then that person runs into like the sledgehammer, does a little spin, and throws the sledgehammer at the TV, and it's like break free or some shit.
Oh wow, I think I do remember it then. Yeah, I
But
just
that-
love Futurama so much.
That's a play off of an Apple commercial where like Apple was doing that to basically get people to break free from Windows and
Gotcha.
IBM and this and that. And it's just so many people online were just referencing that commercial to that instance.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, this is so weird. It's
Yeah.
so weird.
I wonder why.
I reread
Elon-
Animal Farm.
Nice. I wonder why Elon Musk is doing all these things. 'Cause everything's a ploy. Everything has to be what is. It's like a movie. Everything's being directed a certain way. I'm sure with these tariffs, in my head, I think it's all a plan. I don't think it's supposed to work out, and I think that's on purpose.
I mean,
You
he
know-
said it's going to crash. It
Yeah.
has to crash. They're making it crash.
He just says that there's gonna be some pain that we're gonna have to suffer. There may be not, but that's what he said. He wants to put immigrants that he's deporting into Guantanamo Bay, just stuff like that. Like in the sense of reopen it and put them there. I mean, it's so crazy, man. But again, he normalized crazy, and now he's being crazier, and it's just the norm. But it seems so insane how. It really has gotten to this point where like we're only a week, 2 weeks in or something
2
like
weeks,
that.
dog.
And it doesn't seem like it's gonna blow over anytime soon. But it's kind of like a shock at first, and then you kind of just settle in with the sadness of it all. And again, like I'm not really. I mean, I have a story here that really does involve that just a bit, but it's crazy because you're not forced to be political. Thankfully, we have like a platform, I guess, to just vent about it.
Influence.
But we're at the White House. Excuse me, sir.
Why do you suck ass? Why do you eat dicks?
That's my question. Don't waste my time. Fuck.
There's just a lot of people who just are really scared right now.
And then the worst crime of it all, not the hailing Hitler, not the mind control thing or whatever. He lied about Diablo.
What?
Did you hear about that? Oh my god, bro! How you fucking know about the German thing and not the Diablo? I don't even know who you are.
Man, just smack the shit out of you.
Didn't Elon Musk is one of the biggest Diablo players on earth. One of the best.
Okay. The game Diablo. I was like really confused when you said Diablo. I did see about this. Yeah, man.
Yeah, how he just completely lied about being the best player and stuff like that, but he was paying people the whole time to play for him.
Yeah, and
not a big deal,
and then Blizzard shut his account down. They're like, man, shut the fuck up.
You're not even who you say you are.
Why don't you go fucking salute somewhere else, dog?
Yeah, that's so weird. But I don't know. I think I'm so confused why he doesn't just stick to just doing science. You know what I mean? But I still like him in that regards. To be honest with you, when it comes to that regards, I have utmost respect for him. But he just went from being this real chill guy on Joe Rogan to just being this really being this big weirdo who's just playing along with this act. You know what I mean?
It's just, I think like he's playing 4D chess, dog. Like I don't know what fucking game he's playing. And someone dug up an old tweet where he was like at some point in time, like back in like 2016, 2017, like an advocate for climate change. And it's just now he's like, yo, Trump, let's drill some fucking places. And Trump's like, yo, we're gonna be like the best oil like country in the world. And
I hope we go to Mars.
And it's just like, yo, man, like where was this all like the play from the get-go? Like what? He's a super villain. He's just straight up he's Lex Luthor.
Nah, I think what it is, this is my conspiracy. I think him and Trump had a talk, and Trump was like, yo, do you want to go to Mars for real? And Elon Musk is like, yeah. And he's like, you're gonna do everything I say politically, and I'm gonna fund your trip to Mars. You know what I mean? And Elon Musk, he's like, yeah, fuck everybody else, fuck your politics. They're all dumb anyway. You know what I mean? Right? And
Frankie,
if I get to go to Mars, fuck everything else. You know, like why would somebody as smart as Elon Musk, who knows so much about the world, who wants to go to space so bad, care about the fuck's happening on Earth? If he gets his stuff funded, all he cares about is his. You know?
I mean that's why I feel like more than anything. We're going to Mars.
I hope so, bro. That'd be so fucking cool, bro.
I mean, that
makes sense, though. Come on,
I
man.
mean, it does, and that's like it's a scary thing because it's like, you know, at the end of the day, we still don't know. That's why I say it's like he's playing like 4D chess. Like,
but who the fuck is Elon Musk, right? What is he politically? Nothing. No, actually, now he is actually something.
That's why you know, literally anyone can be the president.
And then this is the political episode, I guess. So much for not trying to. Robert F. Kennedy gets sworn in. Did he get sworn in or questioned by the Congress and stuff like that for the?
Yeah, he had like a whole like fucking speech thing or something.
He has some crazy things he said in the past too.
He said some wild shit in that.
But I'm actually a big fan of Robert F. Kennedy as well. I like him. I would if I would vote, I probably would have voted for him if he didn't do that whole Trump thing and everything.
Up until that point, I was like, after that, I was like, hey, buddy, you need to clock out.
He talks so crazy. Like I don't even know. I can't even mimic it. I gotta go fuck up my throat, come back, and then mimic him.
You gotta fuck your throat, yo. Hey,
like fuck up my because you know how he talks.
Hey,
like,
yo.
I think I can't.
Okay, Joker. Fuck it out.
It just sound like that. Damn, Heath Ledger, rest in peace. Such a good movie. What's it called? Yo, Link, what you doing smelling my cup of coffee, bro? I didn't see you, bro. I got vision.
No, but you know, at the end of the day, though, Neil Gaiman,
right? He's probably watching this episode like, yo, bro, please don't mention nothing.
Just keep going.
Anyway.
Now we see you, Neil.
We see you, Neil. He's definitely not listening. Could care less.
Yeah, he's
Big
probably
fan of
gonna.
Sand. I'm not gonna lie, fuck that. I don't care. Big fan of Sandman. That's fucking awesome.
The Sandman still
It's
slaps.
so
It's
good.
like, you know,
Not disregarding anything that we're about to say right now, but Sandman so fucking good. Anyway, and you probably know way more works of his, but personally for me, Sandman was one of my favorite things we've read so far on the podcast. But sexual assault accusations though. Basically 8 women in total. Okay, for those who don't know, who's Neil Gaiman?
Neil Gaiman. I got you. Sorry, you threw me off with that. I wasn't ready for that cue. Neil Gaiman. He is very long credited. I think he's British. Yeah, he is British. British like author. He's written books, comics, like screenplays, things like that. He's very well involved in like a lot of media projects and things like that. Like Frankie said, he's done Sandman. Not only has he done Sandman, but he's done things like American Gods is a big book of his. He did Coraline. If any of y'all have seen
I had
that
no
movie,
idea he did
yeah,
Coraline.
he
Wow.
Coraline is a book. So
Wow, that's crazy.
he wrote the book and then they turned it into a movie. But he's done a lot of work.
I think you probably told me that before, and I was just as shocked.
Wow.
I just don't intake things.
Retain.
There we go. But basically, 8 women in total accused Gaiman of sexual misconduct on January 13th. In the past, within the 8, 4 have spoken out on July 2024. He's accused of coerced sexual encounters, violent sexual assault, and even sexual advances and unwanted sex in the presence of Gaiman's young son.
Yeah.
One of the nannies he had when the alleged sexual misconduct occurred was that the lady was 20 at the time, and Gaiman was 61. He offered one of his 5-year-old's babysitters a bath in his garden, which he then climbed in naked. Then he asked her to sit on his lap, and afterwards he sexually assaulted her. He liked to be called, quote, a master, and then he liked BDSM. But some of the women claimed that some of the BDSM activities weren't discussed beforehand. So he was like, yo, bring that ass here, girl. And they were like, no. He was like, come on. And she's like, okay.
And then he fucking took out the straps and they were like, wet.
Yeah, that must be craziness, man. But Neil Gaiman responded. He said, quote, I've stayed quiet until now, both out of respect for the people who were sharing their stories and out of desire not to draw even more attention to a lot of misinformation. But as I read through this latest collection of accounts, there are moments I half recognize and moments I don't. Descriptions of things that happened sitting beside things that emphatically did not happen. And basically he stands by there not being any abuse, just carelessness on his part.
Yeah, he claims like everything was consensual and like that. Yeah, maybe like he didn't make the best decisions at any given point in time, but it's like he just does the classical thing. Like, I'm human, like I make mistakes too, and it's like, yeah, dude, but you know.
And then in 2023, a police report regarding sexual assault was made and then dropped in New Zealand. And this you might know about it too. Dark Horse Comics has said they're no longer going to publish any of Gaiman's works. Gaiman's series on Prime Video, Good Omens, has converted season 3 into a 90-minute episode. And then Disney, the real cash cow, that money, they just paused the production of Gaiman's The Graveyard Book.
Hey, Gaiman, get the fuck on out of here.
And then, so it's pretty crazy. And then something just happened with the kicker on the Baltimore Ravens team. Right, that's basically he was getting massages at a bunch of places, and basically all the women, like 6 masseuses, have come out, basically saying like, "Yo, bro, we're not trying to have you whip your dick out no more." You know what I mean? Like basically what he's doing. Like he would basically touch the side of women's like hips. He would whip out his dick. He would ejaculate this and that, and then he's just like, "I didn't do that." But then one of
Did I do that? Yes, you did.
One ex-player, I think his name is Chad Ochocinco. He said something simple, but makes total sense. He was like, they can't all be lying, you know, like all the masseuse ladies, you know. And for me, it's the most believable one because it just seems like, you know, they're there to get massages. It could be so misconstrued, like what's the physicality that they're talking about, that's sexual or not. But when he's the one doing it and they all have similar stories. But then the reason I bring up the story is because then you get the idea of extortion, right? Which I was going to look up a story of it, but I just was like, I don't have enough time. But also like, it's something you kind of don't mention when you hear these stories, right? And I'm not saying any of these women are doing that. They could be, they could not be. This is all alleged because we don't know factually whether it's true or not. Like you said, we said when we were talking, we weren't there. But the leaning side is always to believe the woman, and that's the case. And, you know, for the safety of things and for just the heart-forsaken thing, it seems like the correct thing to do. You know?
And I mean, even like to if anyone's about to lose us right now, just like I'll just say like even in a case say like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, like that is very much a case where it's
shitting
like
on beds.
It was like the other way around, where it's just she was the one that fucked up, and like that was very much revealed, and like even though for a long time it was believed that it was Johnny Depp that was being like the fuck up in that relationship, it's just like, you know, so it's just one of those things where it's like at the end of the day, like Frankie said, like we said when we were talking about it off air, it's just like we weren't there. Like, you know, and the shittiest thing about situations like this is that it really becomes a he said, she said at the end of the day. And it's just like, you know, unless there was like physical, like visual evidence, like cameras or whatever, it's like, you just never know. And that's the scary thing.
And the result is probably going to lean towards the woman getting paid, this and that, or maybe Neil may go to jail, but who knows? Because, you know, it's always also fishy when the settlement is done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like, if there's a settlement done and he doesn't see time, then it's like...
Did you really... okay, now I don't believe you, but now the damage is done to Gaiman and his reputation is, you know, perished, you know? So, what's it called? And then I mentioned the MLB player. His name is Trevor Bauer. And this is the article that I read when it happened. So it happened in 2022, so about 3 years ago now, I guess, or 2 and some change. But when I read it, I was also like, this is strange to read because, like, you know, given that it ages and then, you know, he's already faced the consequences of it. Not jail, but basically suspended from MLB and stuff like that. But when I read it in the moment when this came out, I was like, this seems odd because I'll tell you. So basically, he's a pitcher. I think he was a pitcher for the Dodgers. I think now he plays in Japan or some shit. He was amazing. And he was accused of violating league's domestic violence and sexual assault policy. He was suspended for 2 seasons, which is 324 games without pay. And a woman who said she had a consensual relationship in 2021. Basically, they had a relationship. They both agreed to some, quote, some rough sex, but allegedly Bauer took it too far. She says she was choked with her own hair until she passed out, and even after developing a safe word, the same thing happened, and she was punched. Right? I think, yeah. one of the things I read there, because this article I couldn't find because the one I read was so specific and in detail. I'm sure if I search more, but he had punched her in her butt, like she had a bruise in her butt and everything.
Weird.
Yeah, you know. And then Bauer, his name's Trevor Bauer. Bauer's lawyer showed text saying that she agreed to be choked and slapped during sex. You know, so again, like that to me was a little fishy because, you know, like there's a certain limit. Of course, you can't go too far and fucking hurt somebody and this and that, but you know. And another woman accused Bauer of the same thing.
He just come into a black eye and like that was hot.
Yeah. Thanks, bro. But people are into different things. You know what I mean? The spectrum. So what's it called?
You know, Sandman. You know, masochist, sadist.
That's what I'm saying. That I had to come from somewhere. Another woman accused Bauer of the same thing, punching and choking, but non-consensually in 2020. But after 6 weeks of, you know, accusing, and then Bauer's lawyers being like, yo, we're going to sue you back, she dropped the charges. So, again, did she drop the charges because she was worried about, you know, the suing? Of course, probably the money, she doesn't have it. Or was it like, this is not true, you know?
Yeah.
Because Bauer says he claims this was a case of extortion. That's why I bring up that word, because he himself has said this is probably happening to him. Again, we don't know who's right or wrong, but I haven't heard Trevor Bauer ever since. I don't think he's ever coming back to the league. And yeah, so this is not a... we don't have a point on this. This is like just like, really retelling the story.
If there's any point at all, it's just straight up like we don't know. It's just like we don't know. We're not trying to fucking say that like he did it, he didn't do it. We just don't know.
Some people are listening. They're like, what? And then we're gonna stay away from this one.
Like, you know, we're just bringing this up to your attention, y'all. Make your own fucking opinions and decisions on that. Fuck you.
Exactly. Get away from us. We don't want to talk about it. We could not. We don't. Not. We could care. We could care. Not care less.
I will say it's just like. It's such a insane thing to think about because, like, I don't know if I've ever told you about the situation that happened with Achievement Hunter, where one of their members got outed at some point for like basically like sexually assaulting like fans and stuff.
Oh, I think you mentioned that on one of the episodes we had before, when it came to Rooster Teeth, and then something happened like that, or like that happening in the workplace, or something like that.
I can't remember exactly, but
it was a while back.
This makes me think of that because it's like, you know, with that situation, there was visual evidence of like, yeah, he was doing these things, and like
we watched the video, we're like, nah, no way.
AI, man, shut the fuck up. But it's just like there was visual evidence of these things where it's just, and it's so disheartening because like he was always like one of my more favorite members of Achievement Hunter, and
sucks.
when that got outed, I was like, damn, dude, that like really like fucked me up.
You still low-key fuck with him, but you can't really say
no. I just like because he was a married man with 2 kids, and like and was just cheating on his wife with like fans that like were not his age, and like just younger fans and things like that. And it's just like he was rough and just not good, and just people were just like, it hurts, and he just wouldn't stop, and just shit like that. And it's just like he apparently would drop like certain comments like for people in videos and like tell them like, yeah, that was for you or whatever, like when he would say certain things in a video, and it's like
it was the girls and stuff like that.
Yeah, he would like text the girls, be like, yeah, I said that for you or whatever, or creepy shit like that. And like someone from Achievement Hunter, like in their statement about everything, was kind of saying like, you know, we get paid to say crazy shit, and it's like we didn't know, like they like that, all that was happening like right under their noses. And it's like when you look back at the footage and the content and stuff like that, like things really kind of add up, and it's just so.
You think they didn't know? The people?
I genuinely think they didn't know, and it's like because
that's also a whole thing where like, did they not know? You know?
Yeah, because there was statements as well, because like with that whole thing, it was a whole outing from Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter. A bunch of people were getting outed for saying and doing crazy shit, and like on content and whatever, and on camera and all that shit. And it's just a lot of those statements from people from Achievement Hunter, they owned up to those things. It's like, yeah, like we've said some really bad things in videos before, and like even off videos and things like that. And just like, you know, I think Gavin, who is from Slow Mo Guys, had a great statement when all that stuff came out, where he's like, you know, and this is nothing to like excuse that type of behavior, but he was just kind of saying like, you know, for example, like using like the F word for cigarettes. Like he's British, so it's like he would say that sometimes in videos, and it's like
I like the joke. Look at that cigarette over there walking around.
But he used to say that in like really old videos, like from the beginning. So it's like he just didn't know better, and it's like that kind of like.
I feel like if you use that word for a cigarette, you're fine. You know, I don't know if that's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like so it's just
it's like reading Huckleberry Finn and then reading the N word. You know, like you're not like.
Right.
Don't read it out loud.
But that's what it is. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, you know, he was very ignorant about those things. And it's just like when you can own up to your ignorance and things like that, like that is just like, I think speaks more volumes than like just being like, than saying like, I didn't know better.
Yeah. Hold yourself accountable.
Exactly.
You know?
It's like, say like, you know what? I fucked up.
Did he? I don't know what's going to happen to him, bro.
Him,
even if he admits to what he did, that's crazy, bro. He's a crazy motherfucker, you know? Oh, Jesus Christ. They're like, he's not even home anymore. We got him already. Like, oh, okay.
All right. And then they walk away. God damn, you beat me to it. Fuck it. Just stop it.
All right, well, this next topic I want to talk about because it's interesting. Of course, otherwise, why the fuck would I bring it up? But it's about somebody named Karon Hylton-Brown. Do you know who that is?
Nah.
All right. Well, not a little lip. So basically, there's a black guy who got killed, right? He's not just a black guy who got killed, but he's a black man who got killed by the police, which is not a broad statement like some other things. You know what I mean? They were literally sentenced, charged and sentenced for what they did. But I'm going to read down because I think this article does it really well. And it'll cut into some Trump stuff and everything. Again, I'm not making no... I'm trying to be a little... Let's start over. I'm not trying to affiliate this podcast or anything with politics as much, you know what I mean? I just want to have a good time. I just want.
We're just chatting.
Chill.
Just chatting.
You know.
Just remember, at the end of the day, guys, just like that person who commented on our TikTok. Shout out to you, Britt.
Yo, shout out to you.
We're just two dudes with mics,
basically.
just two dudes
just
with
talking.
mics.
But it is a beautiful time to talk about politics, and it's the juiciest thing that trends the most. So we know we're both Trump lovers. Anyway, yeah. So Kamala, I'm kidding. That shit don't matter. Anyway, Karon Hylton-Brown. Two Washington D.C. officers named Terrence Sutton and Andrew Zabowski. They were sentenced in 2020 for the second-degree murder and attempting to cover it up of Karon Hylton-Brown, right? So Sutton received a murder charge, got more than 5 years, and was the first Washington, D.C. officer to be convicted of murder while on duty. Zabowski, bitch-ass Zabowski. Crazy last name.
Zabowski.
Crazy name.
Mike Wazowski.
He was sentenced with conspiring with Sutton to cover up the murder, and he received 4 years in prison. Basically, this happened shortly after the George Floyd thing. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
Nah,
okay, something happened.
Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
I don't know.
It is February.
Derek Chauvin is still in prison. He must be having the worst time of his life, or on the contrary, probably having a blast.
You know, in today's presidency, he's probably there like
with my people. It'd be crazy if I don't think it'll happen if Trump pardoned him.
Yeah,
that
dude.
would be fucking wild.
That'd be insane, dude.
Bro. Baby.
That look was hilarious.
What the hell is this? Okay,
What in the hell?
remind me tomorrow. Anyway, basically, Trump pardoned these two officers.
Okay.
Shortly after pardoning the January 6 rioters. And basically some of the January 6 rioters.
Oh, you know what?
What's up?
I think with the news of that pardoning, I think I think I have heard of this story.
Okay, good. Well, I'm gonna keep talking about it. Don't interrupt me. Thank you.
Go fuck yourself. All right, how about that?
How about the people haven't heard it? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm
literally everyone's heard it. I'm the only one that late to the show.
Everyone's like, oh yeah, this story.
Let's just skip this whole thing.
Okay, where's the next key chapter?
But basically, some of the January 6 rioters who've been pardoned have also faced or are currently facing charges including rape, sexual abuse of a minor, domestic violence, manslaughter, production of child sexual abuse material, and drug trafficking, right? But going back to Karon Hylton-Brown, do you know about him, though? About how he got
I don't know about him. I just know about, like,
the current crimes or the crimes they're facing.
Current crimes.
There's actually one lady who chose to stay in jail. Have you heard about her?
I don't think so.
She's dumbass. I'm not gonna lie to you. But she was like, nah, what I did was wrong. I'm gonna stay in jail. And then when I read that shit, I was like, okay.
You know what? You don't
get no fucking points from me, though. I was gonna put her on this shit, and I was like, no. Like, no, you don't. Man, you don't get no problem. You stay there. They're probably like, yo, can leave, bro. You're not even allowed in here.
She's probably getting beaten up because, like, she didn't leave. It's like, you like it here so much, huh? Boom.
You're breaking the law by being there, even though you're not supposed to. Then when you go back in there, it won't even be for a crime. It'll just be for fucking I don't even know. She's a bozo.
Don't do the time. Don't do the crime.
Hey, look, the SpongeBob thing. All right.
Can't do the time. I fucked it up.
All right, you're good. But basically, Karon Hylton-Brown, he was riding on a moped, driving on the sidewalk, illegal. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea. But he was driving on the sidewalk without a helmet, not safe. And then the officers attempted to stop him. But Karon said, nah, fuck that. He ignored the officers' attempt to stop them. Mm-hmm. Then they chased Karon for 10 blocks. At some point, they even ended up driving down a one-way street the wrong way. Because for some reason, they were trying to stop him, you know? No helmet, driving on the sidewalk. I don't know what warranted that 10-block chase. Yeah. You tell me if you hear anything.
Hey, I don't like that.
You know, basically, they didn't shoot him. They chased Karon into an alley with their lights and sirens off. And basically, when Karon was exiting the alley, he was hit by a car.
Jeez.
And he laid on the floor in a big pool of blood. And basically, the two cops, this is where it gets a little crazy. The driver who hit Karon, more so because they were chasing the shit out of him and he was trying to get away. Because at one point, you're like, yo, the fuck you chasing me for? They led to his death. The two cops, the two irresponsible DC cops were chasing this guy so relentlessly that they ended up causing him. Yeah. It caused him to drive into traffic and get hit by a car. The two cops allowed the driver of that car that hit Karon to leave after 20 minutes, right? They drove over debris involved in the crime scene, and they downplayed the accident severity to fellow cops.
Wow.
Lieutenant Zabowski claimed that Karon, who was sober, was actually drunk, even though he was sober. Wow. And when Trump pardoned these two officers, he said, "quote They were arrested. They were arrested. No, they were arrested, put in jail for 5 years because they went after an illegal." Mr. Trump said on Tuesday, "quote And I guess something happened where something went wrong, and they arrested the two officers and put them in jail for going after a criminal." And then this article really writes it great because Karon Hylton-Brown was an American citizen, and the only ones breaking the law were the cops.
Right.
And it's so crazy how, like, let me reread what Trump said, because he said something so crazy and so just nonchalant,
Yeah, he's so like stone faced now, like more than before.
It's like he knows exactly what's doing, and I guess to a point he's always known, but now he's like, again, I really think it's because this is the end of his like legacy, basically. After this, it's only the memory of him, no longer.
He really just dropped his dick on the table. He just put his whole fucking schlong on the table, man.
He says they were arrested, put in jail for 5 years because they went after an illegal. And I guess something happened where something went wrong, and they arrested the two officers and put them in jail for going after a criminal. Even though he's talking about an American citizen who he so greatly, passionately cares about. So it's insane that these two guys got pardoned, even though they were sentenced, to jail. Of course, their lawyers and the police department thank Trump for letting them go. And these families are probably just pissed the fuck off, as they should be. And it's, like that's when I'm like, damn, bro, like you really disregarded this whole person's life because he wants to maintain a great relationship with the police. Even though he says he's done more for black people than Abraham Lincoln. Yesterday I was texting him like so dumb, so stupid. I was like, nah, he's like the orange MLK.
Yeah. But, dude, fucking or like even if you saw his response to like the plane crash over DC.
Oh yeah,
where he is like, well, you want me to go swimming? It's like, yo,
I didn't know he said that.
Yeah, he straight up was like, because someone asked him, like, are you gonna go to the crash site? And he's like, well, what are you talking about? Like, it happened over a lake. Like, what do you want me to do? You want me to go swimming?
That's actually pretty funny.
And it's just like he says it's so stone faced, dude. Like he doesn't even say it as a joke. He just says it as like a rhetorical thing. Like just like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, he's like, and it's funny. He basically, I know people probably know this already, but he blamed the crash on the diversity push from Obama and Biden's administration. But when I said earlier while Javi was messing up my bombs, all three pilots have been identified on that helicopter, all white people. So it's not to put, because he says we only get the most intelligent people, only the best people, blah blah blah. I think there was also some lady, her name was Joe something. It's a trans pilot, and she was being accused of being on that helicopter. And then I think a couple of days after, she's like, "Bro,
I'm right here.
Can we?" And then and they basically put out the message really well. They were like, "Yo, bro, like that's so disrespectful to the other families. Like, can you just not let this continue to trend?"
Right.
And yeah, so that's a whole blowover. And I think what's his name, some white guy in politics, he has such a name that I guess he's important in politics because I know it, but he's basically saying to Trump, stop lying, start taking like start being accountable, just stop lying. And yeah, man, like
I mean,
it's insane. He just got rid of all the protection of the 300 Venezuelans that he deported, or 30 million, or 300 million, 30 million. And yeah, they're going back to a potentially dangerous ass country because it's gonna be crazy, dog.
I had also wanted to mention even before the TikTok influencer stuff, but like, I just feel like it has to be reminded for some people. But like, yo, guys, like, don't forget, like, when TikTok was getting banned, that was an order done by him. Like,
yeah, he wants to get rid of that shit.
Was trying to get rid of it.
Yeah,
and it's like I don't know if you saw the little like ads not ads, but like the little notifications that TikTok
says,
showed.
Thanks to Donald Trump that he's back now. Yeah,
and it's just like this.
That's a ploy. It's a ploy.
Yeah, this narrative, this rhetoric that's being placed upon like the news and like people's eyes of just like, yo, thanks Trump. It's like it's insane to me, dude. Like, it is so wild.
I don't know, man. I think it's wild, and I think, what's it called? No, there was something I was gonna. I fucking love that explanation, bro. It's so cool. What the fuck was I gonna say? No.
I was also gonna add with like even just in general, like like again mentioning the Stone Cold stuff. Like he's just so like. He looks dead inside, dude. Like,
yeah, but I would be too, because he's probably pissed. He's probably like, yeah, I fucking told you guys I'll be here again. I don't know, man. But
it's just such a scary thing. It's only been 2 weeks. It's been 2
man.
weeks, y'all. By the time this comes out, it'll probably be another 2 weeks, 3
Yeah.
weeks, and like God knows what'll happen then. By the time this comes out,
And JD Vance just sucks. What a loser.
every news episode of this show is just going to be the Trump update.
No, there definitely some journalists who fucking probably came in their pants when they saw Trump got elected.
They're like, yes,
ratings.
The ratings.
Yeah, they're gonna be so happy with that whole thing, and yeah, it's gonna be all over the news. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still hold on to what I said before, that because of him, like it or not, especially people that hate him, you will be paying attention to politics way more than you ever have in your whole life. And don't tell me that's true, because if Hillary Clinton was president, nobody will give a fuck. When if she was president, when Joe Biden's president, none of y'all gave a shit. You know?
I mean, yeah, and like even to that sentiment, like I think I had read an article, I think from the Times, where they kind of talked about how Biden apparently was actually one of the best presidents to do things for climate change than like any past president.
Nobody cares about climate change. I'm talking about human lives. Get going with your trees.
And that right there, my friend, is why is the point.
What?
Because like here you are saying no one gave a fuck about Biden when he was president, because he was doing shit like that. People that shit that actually matters. And like, but no one gives a fuck about that because they had TikTok. So
what do you mean?
What do you mean? Like,
what are you talking? You said President Biden did one of the best things during presidency, and then all the human beings are waiting like, and you're like, yeah, like he protected some lakes and some forest
more than any other president.
Oh
so
my
it's just so it's like. But you see, that response is my point.
But I think the initial thing that you should get to, I'm not saying climate change is not important at all. I'm just kidding about that completely. But I think when you start off a sentence like that, it should automatically go to human health, like, what's it called? Just like betterness in terms of like getting rid of violence in the streets, bettering lives of people who are in need of help, and even with the whole like Palestine and like Israel thing. I forgot. Like people were so mad at him for that. You get what I mean?
I mean,
like,
they were.
He didn't solve that.
No,
neither did Trump.
I'm not saying that and alone like saves everything he did as being a president. I'm not saying it's like, you see, like he was a great president. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's like
that's one of the best things he did. That's the best thing he did.
Like from what has been reported as one of the better things he did,
and
like
then
during
Trump
his presidency.
Reversed it immediately.
He reversed it immediately, and everyone saw that more than the fact that Biden did more than any other president before him.
I'm sure environmentalists were happy.
I mean, yeah, people like me actually gave a shit, but like,
what? Like, oh wow, the tree is greener.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And weren't you just talking about how you need to go touch some grass, buddy? I need to go touch that fresh grass before it dies.
To a bar or something like that. No, don't get me wrong. I care about the environment to an extent, but it's funny going on towards that, because one of the things he did was that it sucks for Alaska to an extent, but when I was over there, a lot of those people depend on drilling.
Yeah.
Like it or not, like I think that was I love perspective. I love gaining it when I can. And that was interesting because here we're like, again, people here are such, liberals that care about the environment. They happen to be correlated very heavily and concentrated in New York City. Not that I don't, again, I'm not saying I hate the environment. I don't. But when you speak to people in Alaska, they depend on that a lot, for their income and stuff like that. And we talked to somebody, me and Jonathan, shout out CFO Slime. We talked to somebody in the bar, and they were like, yeah, man, like it's an industry that's really difficult to get started, because when you start to drill, you have to go through so much bureaucracy to even begin the process.
Yeah.
And that's people's livelihoods, That is also places where they hunt. I just found this out, like, yeah, you probably don't want to shoot a moose, right? But in Alaska, you're allowed to shoot moose, I think, above southeast of Alaska and stuff like that. There's different regulations and stuff like that where, give or take, whether you need to or not, some does benefit ecosystems. Like, all hunting isn't bad. Like, sometimes you do need to.
And we talked about that last episode, yeah.
So I think, like, it's a place where it very much revolves around nature. And don't get me wrong, drilling's not natural, but oil is. You know what I mean? So it's so interesting, and even gaining that slight perspective, although Trump is trying to blow it out of proportion by gaining this economic advance with saying fuck the environment, this and that, whatever. I just did the Elon, my bad. I think it's so interesting. For me, it's just blatantly interesting. Nothing like, boom, boom. I'm not saying fuck the environment at all. I don't litter. I don't like that shit, blah, 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 whatever. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know. I just wonder what are the good things he's gonna do for this country. And one of the things I want him to do is not tax my fucking tips.
Boy, those shits are getting taxed. I mean, the only
that's
reason,
one of his things he says he wants to do. So let's see.
the only reason why I mentioned like the climate change thing at all is not necessarily to be a thing of like make it a whole conversation or a topic, but just more so of just like that idea of like, you know, no one pays attention to the news unless it's like really bad.
Of course.
And it's just I actually just saw this amazing mural somewhere where,
or maybe that what's it called?
No one gives a fuck about the environment.
Maybe it is a big deal, but everybody's like, oh, cool.
But like I saw this amazing mural where it was these like two it was an image of two kids like with the glow of the TV on their faces, and like one of them's like eating popcorn, and like the other one's like kind of like bored, but like the one eating popcorn is looking like super intently at the screen. And it was captioned something like all media is bad media. And it's just like it really gives that perspective or like that interpretation of like, is the person watching the news, are they in shock, are they appalled, are they like in awe, like what are they looking at on the news? And it's just, but at the end of the day, like all news is more often bad news, like especially
of course but some people's bad news is some people's good news,
and that's an interesting like thing to even put it in that way, because it's like we just live in such a shitty world, dude. There's just so much apathy.
I don't think we have a shitty world. I think this world is free to do whatever it wants, because nothing is supposed to be a certain way. Nothing's supposed to be, like society's not supposed to be a magical place.
No,
that's
of course
miraculous
not.
and
I mean,
happy
I just think,
or nor is it supposed to be this negative, terrible place. I mean, literally, it's a free for all.
Yeah, I mean,
we're just a part of the free for all.
I mean, yeah, dog. I recently had a conversation with someone where I said something along the lines of that. I just think like something that a lot of people struggle with in general, just, and you know, even to myself to an extent, it's like learning to take the good with the bad. And it's just like, you know, just learning to have some compassion when it comes to things, and just being kind to yourself and being patient with yourself and just with the people around you. Where it's just so much of life is just I've always been a strong believer that you can't control life. All you can do is react to life. All you can do is react and respond. And how you react and respond to anything in life speaks to your character. So like when you see like something good on the news and you're like, I don't give a fuck. What does that say about you?
And well, I think acknowledging is just, I mean, I'm making different. I think, I think again, because somebody's good or somebody's bad, you know what I mean, and it's all relative, right? Like you could be having the worst day of your life, and then like 10 kittens just got saved from the tree. You're like, oh, nice, but I'm fucking so busy right now.
No, I mean, of course, but
it's all relative,
and it's all relative, and I think
you're saying celebrate the little wins.
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, it's just like I just think it's important to just take the good at the bad and just say like, hey, you know what? I do think it's not crazy to say we live in a shitty world, but it's just like I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy and be like everything sucks, nothing's gonna get better.
I just have a different opinion on the world and what it is.
No,
you know?
And
I agree with you that it's shitty, but
for me, it's always just like, even though this is a shitty place, let me at least try and like bring some good into it a little bit, just a little sprinkle of it, just, you know,
because people say like and some people hate that. Some people will be having a bad time and you try to sprinkle some love, they're like, yo, get the fuck out of here.
Man, shut the fuck up.
And then some people think Japan is a way better thing of living, but it's probably not. It's probably the way, probably
when people talk about like, oh, this place is so much more better, it's like, no, I gotta leave America. It's like, I don't know about that.
You're crazy.
You're crazy.
I just had this idea of like when you were saying everything about the environment and stuff, I was saying like, if you see the TV and it's you and like a cancer patient, and then you see like, oh, science cures cancer, and they're like, yes, and you're like, oh, nice, and then it says like, no, sorry, science cured tree cancer, and you're like, let's fucking go. This guy's like, yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. You get what I'm trying to say?
No, definitely. Like everything is all relative. It's that's why, but that's also kind of why, in part, why I say like it is shitty. It was just like it would be better if everything could just be good, obviously, but that's just impossible. We live,
and it's such a simple thing, and I think what is it like yin and yang? You know,
Hmm.
there's no balance to the world if everything's good because humans
Yeah,
aren't built that way to
and
all agree. They may be communists. You know what I mean?
and I just
Seriously,
think
right?
tech
Yeah,
and technology in general in
yeah,
society is just like always going to influence that. Like
yeah,
again, mentioning like how you're saying like looking at headlines and things like that.
yeah.
It's like because it's technology, we are becoming more desensitized, and so
Hmm.
it's easy to just look at something and be like, "That's crazy,"
Yeah.
and just go on with the rest of your day.
I think. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know what? You're right. Because it's, I mean, ever since I saw a guy get his head chopped off when I was like in middle school,
You're like, it
never
can't get
been.
any worse than this.
And we'll end it on that. Thank you for listening. Earth Might Matter Pod on
TikTok.
Instagram, TikTok. Any last words before?
I'll just fucking say, yo,
Yeah.
fucking just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
it's gonna get tough out there. It's gonna
Yeah.
get a little scurry. Just
Yeah.
just try and be a little nice to one another.
I'll say
Like this guy.
let's go Mets. And
Yo, shut up, man. Man, shut the fuck up, man.
Earth Might. You see the memes where they're trying to play music? You know, it's like, hey, yo, everybody, wake up. Good morning, New York City. How you doing? Yeah, yeah, boy. The music's going. I just want to. What's it called? Earth Might Matter Pod. Earth Might Matter Pod on TikTok, Instagram, Earth Might Matter on YouTube. And yeah, our Cash App is. No, I'm kidding. Don't send us money. Just comment or some shit. Thank you, Britt.
Thanks, Britt.
All right, please.